You're 19 years old, and it is 4:40 in the morning on the eastern edge of the Rzhev Salient, January 1943. The temperature is minus 31 degrees Celsius. You know this because your watch has stopped working, and the only functioning gauge left in your position is a mercury thermometer nailed to a support beam, and the mercury hasn't moved in 3 days. You sleep in your boots. Everyone does. The men who don't, the men who take them off to let their feet breathe, lose toes to frostbite by morning. You learned this in your second week here. You didn't need a second lesson. Your unit is the 6th Infantry Division, dug into a network of trenches your predecessors carved out of frozen earth using dynamite, because shovels don't work below minus 20. The trench is 1.5 meters deep, walled with pine logs, roofed with corrugated tin, and 2 feet of packed snow for insulation. It smells like diesel, unwashed wool, and something underneath that nobody talks about. 0500 hours. Stand to. Every man in the line takes his position along the firing step, rifle in hand, because dawn is when the Soviets attack. It has been dawn for 6 weeks straight. You watch the tree line 400 meters out, a smear of gray pine against gray snow against a gray sky, and you wait to see if today is the day it moves. It doesn't. Not yet. At 0620, you're relieved for breakfast. Breakfast is Rzhev coffee, made from roasted acorns and chicory, and a heel of bread so frozen you have to hold it inside your coat for 10 minutes before you can bite into it without cracking a tooth. There is supposed to be a sausage ration. There hasn't been a sausage ration in 11 days. The supply trucks can't get through. The road is called the Rollbahn, and right now it's buried under snowdrifts and Soviet artillery, and nobody's making the run. You write a letter home while you eat. You don't mention the cold. You don't mention the food. You write that you are well, that the officers take good care of you, that you think of your mother's kitchen. You've written some version of this letter 11 times since December. You don't know if any of them have arrived. You don't know if your mother's kitchen is still standing. Hamburg was bombed twice last month. You heard this from a corporal whose brother is stationed there. You try not to think about it. 0900 hours. The company runner comes down the trench line with an order. Patrol duty. 6 men out past the wire to check on a listening post that went silent overnight. You're one of the 6. Nobody volunteers for this. Nobody has to. Your name is just on the list. You go over the top in pairs, spaced 10 meters apart, moving low across open snow that reflects every scrap of gray light in the sky and makes you feel like a fly crawling across a white sheet. The listening post is 200 meters out. It takes 11 minutes to cross that ground. It is the longest 11 minutes of your week. You find the post empty. No blood, no shell craters, no sign of a fight. Just an abandoned foxhole, a rifle standing upright in the snow, bayonet down, the way soldiers here mark a grave when there's no time to dig one. Whoever was here left in a hurry, or was taken, and either way, you are not going to find out today. You radio it in and you go back the way you came, faster this time, because open ground makes everyone nervous once the sun is fully up and the Soviet spotters have had time to find their morning coffee. 1200 hours. Midday, if you can call it that. The sun barely clears the horizon at this latitude in January, a pale disk that gives light but no warmth, gone again by 1600. This is the part of the day nobody puts in the newsreels. Not the charge, not the medal ceremony. Just hours of sitting in a frozen trench, cleaning a rifle bolt that keeps seizing up because the oil has thickened to paste in the cold. Listening to a man 2 positions down cough in a way that tells you he won't last the month. 1340 hours. Artillery. You hear it before you feel it. A whistle that starts high and drops, and every man in the trench presses himself against the forward wall out of instinct before the brain even finishes the thought, incoming. The first shell lands 80 meters short. The second lands closer. The third lands close enough that snow and frozen dirt rain down on your helmet, and the concussion presses the air out of your chest like a fist.
This is a probe, not an assault. You know the difference now, 6 weeks in.
A real assault comes with infantry moving through the barrage, dark shapes in white snowsuits closing the distance while the shells are still falling. Today, it's just the guns. 20 minutes of it, testing your line, seeing if you'll break. You don't break. You press yourself against frozen logs and you count seconds between impacts and you wait, because waiting is most of what this war actually is. It stops as suddenly as it started. Somewhere down the line, a man is screaming for a medic. You don't know his name. You never learned it. New replacements arrive faster than you can learn their names, and most of them don't last long enough to make it worth the effort. That sounds cruel when you say it out loud. So you don't say it out loud. You just stop introducing yourself to the new ones. 1800 hours. Evening stand to, same as dawn. Every man back on the firing step because the Soviets like dusk almost as much as they like sunrise. Nothing comes. The tree line stays a smear of gray on gray. You're stood down at 1900 and you go back to the dugout, where a corporal named Brandt is melting snow over a small fire for something resembling soup, and another man is reading a 2-month-old newspaper for the 4th time because it's the only reading material in the position. You think about home tonight, more than usual. Not because anything happened today that was worse than yesterday. By the standards of this winter, today was almost quiet. You think about home because tomorrow is your 20th birthday, and you are fairly sure none of the 5 other men in this dugout know that, and you are not going to tell them, because there is nothing anyone here can do about it, except maybe give you an extra ration of acorn coffee. And honestly, you'd rather they didn't know. 2,200 hours. You sleep in your boots, rifle within reach, in a trench 400 meters from men who are trying to kill you, and who you are trying to kill, on a front line that has not moved more than a few hundred meters in either direction in 6 weeks. Somewhere behind you, 1,700 kilometers behind you, your mother is asleep, not knowing whether the letter she received last week was written by a boy who is still alive tonight. Tomorrow, stand 2 is at 0500 again. It always is. This is not a story with a single dramatic day in it. This is 1,000 days that all look like this one, and somewhere in the middle of one of them, for most of the men in this trench, the story simply stops.